Our scripture meditation is Luke chapter 22, verses 31 through 33. Again, scripture meditation is Luke chapter 22, verses 31 through 33. Scientific theory asserts something interesting about the body's physical response to hearing various words. By measuring heart rate, brain waves, and bodily function, researchers can chart the physiological responses to spoken words. People tend to have a very favorable response to hearing their name called, especially when pronounced correctly. Incorrectly pronouncing a person's name engages negative physical and emotional internal reactions. As expected, positive words can result in better biological responses than do negative words. One word that seems to bring about negative internal responses is the word test. Students respond negatively when teachers announce a test. Patients become anxious when doctors call for tests. The Department of Motor Vehicles frustrates drivers when they require tests for driver's license renewal. State governments inconvenience motorists by mandating emissions tests. Life insurance policies usually cannot be underwritten without a physical test. Job applicants become nervous when performing skills tests. Just about everyone experiences nervousness when waiting for any type of test result to come in the mail. Tests make people testy. However, every instance of a test serves a needed purpose. The outcome of a test helps to demonstrate the best course of action to be taken based on the outcomes of the tests. So, tests help to identify information needed to then implement appropriate responses to actual and factual matters of concern. For this reason, all believers undergo testing of our faith. No matter how long you have been in the church or how many scriptures you can quote, each one of us will face some faith-challenging tests. Uninvited circumstances will present themselves. Not even the strongest person can bear all of life's burdens alone. At times, answers to problems surface much slower than the quick pace of perplexing questions. Midnight's darkness will sometimes creep upon you in the middle of the day. The wind of adversity will suck the breath of hope from your very being. A problem can be so overwhelming that a person can be so inwardly focused that he feels alone even when in the middle of a large crowd. Those very painful events and unsettling occurrences that are naturally attributed to Satan's workings may actually be working our faith so that we have a faith that works. Take careful notice of Peter, the impetuous disciple. Some of the disciples seem to have been less prominent than others. Peter, however, appears to have been the more vocal and outspoken of the group. Either he was voted the spokesperson of the group, or the other disciples just had enough sense not to say everything that could have been said. Often, Peter acted, reacted, and spoke without seemingly giving much forethought to the consequences of his impulsive and reactionary personality. For this reason, the Lord permitted Peter's faith to be tested in Luke chapter 22, verses 31 through 33. While Satan's intentions for that test were certainly not honorable, the Lord allowed it in an effort to help Peter mature in his faith. The same speaks true to our tests. See what can be learned from Peter to help guide our thinking in such instances. Again, in Luke chapter 22, beginning with verse 31, "And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you, that your faith fail not. And when you are converted, strengthen your brethren. And he said unto him, Lord, I am ready." Now, before you read any further, did you notice Peter's response? I am ready. I am ready. He thought he was ready. He thought he was ready to be imprisoned with Jesus. He thought he was ready to die with Jesus. He thought he was ready to die for Jesus. Again, he said, I am ready. That statement, I am ready, justifies for both Peter and each of us why faith must be tested. Just as people struggle with low self-esteem and shallow faith, others struggle with overconfidence from untested faith. Either level of faith offers its own set of challenges. Those with low self-esteem tend to explore less, experience less, and become exhausted at the idea of trying. They would rather resort to isolation than to publicly display their inner inhibitions. A person with low self-esteem and shallow faith does not want to reveal to the world all of the helpless thoughts and feelings that they have on the inside, and so they keep them bottled up and remaining on the inside. Individuals with too much confidence find themselves taking unnecessary risk for themselves and for others. Overconfidence leads to more mistakes, more failed attempts, more disappointments, and more individuals who appear publicly successful but are actually suffering in private. Obviously, Peter fell into the latter group. His faith needed testing to show him the shallowness of faith he otherwise assumed to be stronger. As you can see, his impending test was administered by Satan, but God permitted it so that the process would lead to conversion. Remember the phrase, when you are converted, in verse 32. The Lord knew Satan's intentions with Peter. Like with anyone, Satan sought his ultimate demise and destruction. Jesus prayed for Peter's faith. He knew that this could ultimately, by the grace of God, actually help Peter to see himself and grow beyond what he would eventually see. It's hard for the Lord to help a person to grow when that individual has an unrealistic assessment of himself. Some people have projected an image for so long that they do not know themselves, nor do they believe what they want others to believe about them. By challenging, testing, and troubling an individual, the Lord puts that individual in a position where reality forces them to abandon their pretenses and to come to grips with the real person. Growth takes place after a person stops projecting what is not true and starts facing what is true. Sometimes people may dress well and be hiding inner ugliness. They may splash on fancy perfumes and cologne, and yet their lives can be a stinking mess. They may be smiling, but inwardly they are agonizing over the frustrations of life. And that's why we have to be careful about being overconfident like Peter, who said, Lord, I am ready. Peter needed testing. He needed this sifting experience. Also, this humbling process would position Peter to better help other disciples. He was told after his sifting that would lead to his conversion that he could then strengthen his brethren. He was not told that he could talk about his brethren or look down at his brethren, but he could strengthen his brethren. Too many times people hold opinions about others without the benefit of having walked a mile in that person's shoes. People like Peter are quick to criticize, to judge, and to become counsel to someone when in reality they are nothing more than a nuisance and an agitator. The best help comes not from another person with an opinion, not another critic. The best help comes from the one who stands in the rain with you and holds the umbrella. When a person stops standing over another as some type of God looking down on them, then they could come to see that the best advice comes from the one who learns to stand with that person to provide love, support, and care. And that person is far superior to a person with just another opinion. In the example of Peter, we learn that tests, though undesired, offer us the potential for great blessings. The results of tested faith helps us to see ourselves as we really are and offers us the opportunity for personal growth. Then we are better positioned to strengthen others without imposing ourselves in a way that's damaging to their spiritual walk. Maybe this test we find ourselves in as a global pandemic is upon us has been designed by God to help us to see ourselves, to grow beyond what we see, and then to learn how to help others. May God bless you to pass the tests. Satan may proctor or administer the tests, but Jesus is praying that in such times as this, that our faith does not fail. Tune in tomorrow night and every night for another installment of A Few Minutes with the Minister with words from the Master.